can't really tell if I need to pee or not. I already did before. I saw an article. It was about a TikToker that worked in the medical field, and they were saying your mind can program your body to thinking it needs to go and pee when you don't need to, when you don't have a full bladder. So, that being said, I don't know if I need to pee or not. I'm just gonna keep rolling with this. Fuck it. Welcome to another episode of Rated G. I'm your host, G Terado. You are new here. Welcome to the show. Generally, I promote fellow local artists and creators of all kinds. And while doing so, we have honest discussions and conversations, getting to know each other within and out of the artistic and creative world. So we do talk about other things in our day-to-day. Yeah, that's what the podcast is all about. So if you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, ring that notification bell for more uploads, especially if you are watching on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel and ring that bell, and because I post other content besides the podcast. So every now and then, when things are going well and things are busy, I have content to post regarding art event vlogs, artwork in general. Yeah, if you haven't already, especially if you're a returning listener or viewer, yeah, if you haven't already, check out my other content, because I do post I post a lot of podcast content on here. So sometimes I myself forget. I'm like, oh, this is the overall my art platform here. So it's podcast and artwork and all the insights in the in this creative journey, this endeavor. And yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. Been just babbling, but yeah, again, the new audience members, if you vibe with this kind of stuff, please subscribe. And again, those of you coming back to the show, welcome back and thank you for your continued support. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to check out the show descriptions, where I always provide my link tree, which will lead you to all my active platforms like social media, and as well as the same thing for my featured guests. I always provide their social media and all that. So, be on the lookout for that. And let's go. Mainly today, we're just gonna talk about the overall entertainment biz. Just the things that I'm particularly interested and excited about in regards to the entertainment world, like movies, video games, TV shows, announcements, things like that. So that's what I'm going to be getting into mainly. But before I do get into that, thought I'd share some little updates with you. Recently painted a couple. You can actually see it behind me over my shoulder if you're watching. I got a couple of small paintings, a couple of submissions I've made for this upcoming group art show called Small Works, hosted by Artworks Studios. And I've been talking a lot about Artworks a lot because I've been trying to be as involved as much as I can be, and try to submit every monthly exhibit. So I'm really just pushing my artwork out into the the gallery scene. So I submitted these these two behind me paintings, one of a bacon cheeseburger, and a breakfast pulled pork biscuit. I talked about it on one of the previous episodes when we visited Asheville, North Carolina. This great spot called Biscuit Head. But yeah, so I think it's very safe to say this was inspired by one of my discussions with fellow artist Jenna Davis during the Bitch Fest 3.0 episode. So if you're new here, what is Bitch Fest?
This is where we bitch and we, complain and just rag on everything. So
and we say the same thing every single time. The only thing that changes is just the day on the calendar.
So that's what Bitch Fest is, and in the recent one, I had it with Jenna Davis and Collie Smith.
Well, that girl next door. I mean, you got a cute little face.
Yeah, let me see your ears.
Yeah.
You don't get to see these ears for free.
Oh, dang. Fans only.
Just kidding.
Maybe you should go on fans only.
Only ears.
Ears only.
Yeah.
Jenna, she creates food jewelry, basically. Real cute, like snacks and things like that. And I don't know, I personally I have a fascination with miniature art and miniature things, like figurines and things like that. So yeah, I was just immediately drawn to her craft, and we were just kind of sharing ideas on how to move forward with her, with her niche. And then I kind of just was thinking about, kind of fast forward. I've been just thinking of like other things that I can also get into in terms of my craft. I got Tech Utopia, which is, this post-apocalyptic dystopian storyline. I got that's still going on. And then I just, I've been going really hard with the portraits as well. And I don't know, I just I also think this ties in with like what I call food FOMO. At first I thought like I just had like these, I don't know, they're like these spontaneous like cravings that were easily triggered by pretty much anything. I could be watching something and a scene, there's like a mention of a certain food or whatever, and then I just like crave it automatically. Very delicate trigger. So I'm like, all right, there's something going on there. I don't know. I thought maybe it's like I'm thinking maybe it's some sort of eating disorder or something. Yeah. So now I've come to maybe it's like FOMO. But with food. So when I see someone else enjoying a certain type of food, whether it be in an ad or in a movie or in the show, I immediately crave that. And sometimes that shit happens while I'm like mid-meal. I could be eating something that is delicious, and then I see a commercial advertising pizza, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh shit, pizza sounds good. Because I could put away a lot of food, and lately it's been tough getting that off. I've been dealing with a crazy like sweet tooth lately. So anyway, getting back to this food, creative food outlet here. I have I call it a guilty pleasure in taking food selfies because I do appreciate like culinary art. You know, I like I can appreciate the way dishes are put together and displayed and presented. So I can appreciate the aesthetic the aesthetic there, especially when there's a lot of colors involved in the dish. So, yeah, I've had this I've always had this appreciation. Especially I've had classmates that were culinary students back in at the Art Institute, and they would have to take photos of their dishes, and I would see it around the building. And yeah, I mean, it's like a fucking advertisement. It fucking makes you crave that shit. It's like that shit looks good. Save me some. So yeah, I always take food selfies anytime me and Nicole go out. And I figured, hey, you know what? This will help take away a little bit that guilt of just that typical food selfie and share it on social media and blah blah blah. But I wanted to take it a little bit further in my own way, and by doing so, I've taken a small collection of recent food selfies that I've taken, and I've said I kind of made a decision like, hey, I guess I'll have like this short series of food paintings. We want to call it still life. I I loosely call it culinary art just because it involves food, but these are food portraits. I don't know. So you can call it many things, but that is sort of the current direction I'm sort of leaning towards. Like I've done a few illustrations as well, for especially for Inktober. There were some opportunities that led me to doing a Krabby Patty illustration, and what else? I feel like there was something else, but even after Inktober, I illustrated a picture of a slice of pumpkin pie, and I was like, yeah, that looks good. I was like, I can, now let me start throwing some watercolor in there. So yeah, that's the sort of creative direction I'm on right now. Fingers crossed, because I submitted these two. Fingers crossed that at least one of them gets accepted. Because yeah, the plan with these two guys here is to have them up for sale as well. So we'll see. When this comes out, it'll just be days before the juror has made all of their selections. So we'll see. I shall keep you all posted. Actually, no, if you follow me on social media and there's no word of being a part of any upcoming exhibits, that's yeah, there you go. There's the update there, but now we'll see. I'm hopeful. Um, I've had a good run the past 3 months now, and the last time I didn't realize I got accepted because there was actually a technical difficulty on their end. So I guess a lot of people thought they didn't get accepted or selected. So yeah, at that point I was feeling doubtful, and I was like, all right, you know what? I can't be selected for every time I submit, because I always submit at least two. And I'm like, all right, there's gonna be days where I won't get selected, and that's okay, you know. But in this case, if that is really the case, yeah, we'll just wait and see. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to you know, what I really want to get into. I'm sure if you're a fan of this show or a fan of Henry Cavill, you are well aware now that he has passed his role as Geralt of Rivia. He has passed it on to Liam Hemsworth for season 4. So I don't know if that means I don't know if season 3 is they're done shooting for that and now everything's in post production. But yeah, there's a lot of discrepancies and disagreements going on behind the scenes here with Henry and like the writers and the producers. Like after the first season, or actually leading up to the premiere of the first season, like we learned that Henry is a major dork, like a lot of us. And I'm talking like Warhammer board games and PC gaming, all of that. He loves that shit, and I like, and the last episode I talked about when you find out celebrities, big name celebrities are really talented in other other areas of creativity. So let's say like these actors or comedians, they're also very, very talented in illustration, visual arts. And now this case, we're talking about Henry Cavill. Great. He's I can't really come up with these adjectives as quickly, but again, he's a phenomenal actor. He's a fucking stud, right? He's real handsome. I'm not gonna lie, I got a man crush on this dude. I love the idea of him, especially now coming back as Superman. That's a big deal. This dude is, I believe, despite any hate, negativity towards the DC EU, which is non-existent now, but with their recent films, I still think he crushed it as Superman, even though the writing was bad in a lot of cases. But personally, in my opinion, I enjoyed Man of Steel, despite any flaws. But anyway, yeah, I love that having said all that, he's fucking Superman. He was in one of the later Mission Impossible films, The Witcher. I mean, he's in so many things. Enola Holmes, he plays, right? I think he plays Sherlock. Anyway, this very talented actor, superstar, is a major dork. And, he is a huge fan, a genuine fan of the Witcher series, the franchise, especially the literature, the books. He is a fan of the original source material. I'm not sure about the game so much. He probably played the game up to a certain point, I imagine. But we became aware of this. This became common knowledge for many of the fans. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a hardcore fan, but after watching the series, I became more interested on The Witcher because I never played the video games. I didn't until the show came out, I didn't realize there was a book series. So after watching the first season, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get the first book and see what how much align, how many things are sort of accurate. I'm not gonna lie, the book kind of threw me off, because things were a little more like a lot of the story, like there's many stories going on in these books. But anyway, they're, you know, I'm trying to like not extend this too much for longer. But anyway, I still enjoyed the books, regardless of how different some of the stories were. But I can appreciate the original source material as far as as far as with the first book. I haven't read the second book yet. But yeah, this is kind of heartbreaking because I didn't even realize that there was issues going on since season 2, and they really had to negotiate with Henry to come back for season 3. It's more money, I guess, right? So, hey, and that's the thing too. When the way that these headlines were read, I'm like, oh, season 4. I'm like, wait, I was like, how many seasons came out already? I was like, season 3. I really watched all 3 seasons of The Witcher already. It's like, no way. But then I was like, oh, okay. Like they had to really negotiate with Henry, despite these differences, to have him come back for season 3. And here we are now. But I remember not too long ago seeing articles, talking about how the writers and the producers were not fans of the original source material. And I think, I don't know if this was just like propaganda or what. They're saying that some writers even mocked the material. So, just going back to Henry being a big fan, a genuine fan. I mean, the topic even comes up in his interviews, I think, right? They'd be like, oh, we've heard you're a big stickler for the source material, blah, 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 something like that. And, haha, it's funny, but it's like, hey, man, I understand. I respect that. But I say I'm a forgiving fan in a lot of these cases because, like, it's fun to have some differences, even if you make a hard turn on some of the material. But anyway, in this case, fucking, clearly Henry made Geralt. He really fucking took that role. Put a lot of, I don't know, like it's kind of like Hugh Jackman being Wolverine. Like he put such a huge print on Geralt of Rivia for the screen adaptation, and it's hard to imagine someone else as Geralt, right? So now here we go, Liam Hemsworth, younger brother of Chris. Like I don't have anything against him honestly, but it's like, yeah, when you compare him to Chris Hemsworth, he's he's the younger brother. He's not as jacked, he's not juiced up. He's like the softer version of Chris. He's in the which franchise is it? Divergent. I think he's part of the Divergent series. What else? He was in that terrible Independence Day, I think Resurgence it was called. I fell asleep during that in theater. I can blame the weed on that on a to a good portion. Like I got too high for that shit, and it was terrible. But he was in it. I'm not saying it was terrible because of him, but he was in it. Uh, yeah, this is gonna be tough. Now, I will say this. I only see this working out because they really haven't mentioned anything else besides the fact that the role has now been handed to Liam. So we don't know if their approach for season 4 is going to be completely different than these last 3. Like instead of, because the stories, if you haven't watched the show, if you're not familiar with the Witcher at all, in the show, like the stories are they're kind of like, sometimes they follow like an actual timeline, and then sometimes it's kind of like let's say side missions of a video game. They're like kind of these side stories that happen along the main storyline that makes sense. So, and the book is like that too. But the book is like was a little more confusing for me. But again, I'm not big on reading like conventional reading. I'm more of an audiobook guy, and it takes a little more effort for me to be able to retain the things I'm reading or listening to. But the book, I don't know, it kind of made it, yeah, it really made it seem like these are just different, not time periods, but different, just different times along his whole journey as a witcher. But what was I just talking about? Yeah, Liam Hemsworth. So I can only see it working out if Liam plays the younger version of Geralt. And if that's the case, all right. And like who knows, maybe Liam's gonna, beef up a little bit. I mean, his fucking brother is founder of Center Fit. So his brother's literally the god of thunder. So that's one way I could see it working out. And it's just so funny because the fans are coming up with fan art. They're making Liam look like Geralt, and it's really not helping. There's a couple. I'll put them up on the screen here. There's a couple that were pretty decent, but again, I think it only justifies what I'm saying about the timeline, his timeline. Like this is going to be like the earlier stages of him being a witcher when he's younger. And again, because like I kind of fell off reading the books. Like I'm trying to read them in order, and I haven't started the second book yet. But or maybe I have. I don't think I finished it though. Can't remember. But anyway, the question is, are we gonna give him a chance? Am I gonna give him a chance? I want to say yes, but if they're really trying to move forward with the timeline, with the story, the after, like I don't even know what season 3 is gonna be like, but I mean, right now there's like an ongoing storyline here happening, and if they're really gonna try to keep moving forward with Liam instead of using him as a younger Geralt, I don't know. I might have to be like,
it's definitely a no for me, dog.
Yeah, we'll see. Right, we're only speculating. We've only heard that he just got the role, so let's leave him alone. You see what I did there? I did see that there was a petition amongst the fans for The Witcher to bring Henry back, and they already crossed 100K signatures. That's pretty fucking wild. So I wonder. Yeah, I feel like I wonder if that would, if I really guess the question is like how strongly does Henry feel about about the use of the source material, because if it's literally just going to be money, how much of that is going to affect how the show turns out, how the writing turns out? Because if he's getting paid more money, but the storyline is steering way far away from the original source, like, and that's, I mean, I don't, is that gonna really, is that gonna be a deal breaker for him? Who knows? I hope. Look, if he comes back, if he takes that role back, like, sorry, Liam, we gotta give the people what they want. If he comes back, I hope they, like, whoever these journalists or media people, whoever puts out any articles, I hope they mention that he's coming back and the source material will not be as affected. Like the source, they're gonna keep as true to the source material to the best of their ability with Henry, like giving the green lights, like, oh yeah, we can do that, we can change that, whatever. We'll see. We can only hope. We can only hope. And I guess until then, we're just gonna keep having fans put out more fan art of Liam. Like I said, there was a couple that looked okay, but it's just, again, like, can we just put a huge stamp in that role? It's a hard follow, and we'll see. Moving on. Okay, this I'm actually genuinely excited about because I was a big fan of this video game franchise, and that is Onimusha. If you're not familiar with that title, it's a game. It basically was like the same format as your sort of old school Resident Evil gameplay. Like everything was sort of the same, but instead of like Resident Evil settings, you just switch it to feudal Japan time period. That's pretty much what it was like. But the storyline was great. It was fun. Like you had this you would fight demons, and when you kill the demons, you get to collect their like their spirit energy or whatever, and it just helps you like level up and all that. And that, like, you use certain different colors represented different energy sources, like for weapons and all that. And yeah, it was just a fun game, and I mean, I got really into it. I followed the game up into hold on, let me get my list here because I have Onimusha Warlords, which is the first one. Onimusha Samurai's Destiny, which is probably my favorite. And then Onimusha Blade Warriors and Demon Siege. Blade Warriors was like they made a fighting game version involving all the Onimusha characters, like all the main characters, all the protagonists, and all the the bad guys, all the villains, the bosses. It was really fun, but those were the games that I had. Demon Siege, that one I don't remember too well. I can't remember why. What I liked is that in the third, was it Samurai's Destiny? They brought back the first protagonist because in Onimusha 2, this was like 50 years later in the future. So they had a different main character. But then in the third one, they bring back the original main character from the first one. And I thought that was cool. Anyway, I thought it was a fun game series. Netflix is going to come out with a series. And, hopefully, I hope it works out. All right, because Netflix be doing some wonky shit sometimes, and I'm hopeful. I'm for it. Like if they're really gonna move forward with this series, I'm all for it. There are gonna be some differences, right? I've looked into like one or two articles. I mean, because they really haven't said much since, so there's only a couple of things we know about it so far. And that is the protagonist is loosely based off of Miyamoto Musashi, who is a samurai, and he's a real person too. And I think, let's see, story-wise, the anime will follow Miyamoto Musashi, excuse me. Only this one is less historically accurate. All right, so there's that. He wields an Oni gauntlet, which is the Oni is like the spiritual. I don't know what to call it, but like you you know, like I mentioned, the spirits, you absorb these like Oni spirits, so it's like the spirit, this like. Anyway, you got the the Oni gauntlet, with which he aims to take down evil. And quality wise, I mean, yeah, it again, I'm hopeful. If what I'm seeing from the stills, I think it has a lot of potential. It looks like there's going to be a nice level of it's going to be graphic. Um, I mean, again, as a fan of the game, I'm really curious to see how they mix this within, making a loose story with Miyamoto Musashi. Because I've been hearing about Musashi a lot, listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, because he mentions his book, which is called the Book of Five Rings, which I started recently. And man, that thing had a long intro. That shit was like again, I'm listening to an audiobook, and dude, like the intro was like an hour long. It's like shit. But yeah, I'm really curious. I'm curious to see how they're gonna mesh these two worlds together. And see how much of the game we'll see in the story. Like, are we still gonna see, the main villain, Nobunaga Oda? Like, he was the main bad guy in the video games. Are we gonna see him in the show, or is it gonna be a different like representation of him? We'll see. I'm excited. I can't wait till they announce more updates and when they're planning to release this. But I'm for it. I mean, if Castlevania was dope. Like I wish they could do another season of Castlevania, because that show was awesome. What was that? I think that was 3 seasons. But that show was awesome. The action, the animation, the fight action sequences. That show was awesome. So, if Onimusha is gonna be anything like that, I'm all for it. Especially, since this is taking place in this feudal Japan era. Yeah, and I love that time period. When it comes to the Japanese culture, the samurai culture, I do like that. Like, one of my favorite movies is The Last Samurai. But yeah, but so when I discovered this, it was because of hearing about the Onimusha and its you know correlation with tying in with the Musashi, that encouraged me to actually check out his book, the Book of Five Rings. And again, Joe Rogan keeps talking about it. So the Onimusha announcement pushed me into actually starting the book. Man, that thing is pretty dense so far. So I might have to rewind and go back and re-listen to some parts. But I don't know. I enjoy stuff like that. I take a lot of those values and try to apply it to my day-to-day, especially when it comes to the creative journey as an artist. There are a lot of great tools so far that I've heard that come from this book, and you can apply it to your own goals and passions and all of that. You can take those lessons and apply it to your life. So I love stuff like that. So let's see on to the next. This was a sort of recent announcement, or official announcement, I should say, because I remember it was lingering in the air that they were gonna do a live action adaptation of Gears of War, whether it was just gonna be a movie or maybe a series. But Netflix is at it again with another announcement that they are going to do live action film and adult animation series. So, man, Netflix is on a roll here. You know, because I feel like they've like announced how they, they would make these. I don't want to say spontaneous, like these like out of the blue, but they would cancel a bunch of shows like after one season, or even wasn't there one? It didn't even come out. It didn't even premiere, but they kind of just fucking trashed it already. They're like, nah, we're good. We're not gonna do it. And they just wrapped up, unless that's like a different network or a different streaming service. But I remember hearing something like that. Maybe it wasn't Netflix. Maybe I fucked up there. But anyway, Netflix is on a roll right now. And I, again, am a fan of the Gears of War game franchise. Now, I'm not as big of a dork as I used to be. I've said that multiple times, like in other episodes. I remember actually coming to terms that I'm more of a cult classic, so maybe that's what this is. But because of Gears of War, because of the first game, playing that, that was the reason I ended up getting an Xbox 360 then. Because I used to just be a Sony PlayStation guy, and then I played Gears of War, and I really liked, at least with this game in particular, I love the third person shooting, right? That's third person. Yeah. And I love the aesthetic and the style of it when you're like crunching down and you're like running, right? Running through battle. It's fucking, that shit was exhilarating. And yeah, and then since then I tried to keep up. I wouldn't keep up with all the DLCs, but I would try to, every time a new game came out, I would get it. And I just found out that they had Gears of War 5, which that one, again, I've been so far off that spectrum of fandom that I didn't even realize the fifth one came out. I thought it was just 4, and they just kept adding more downloadable content. But yeah, and now they're gonna try to do this movie with a animated series, which I like that. I actually like that combo there. Yeah, I'm curious to see if they're gonna do it in the order of the headline here, if they're gonna do the movie first and then have like a spin-off series or a continuation, animated series. That would be interesting. Years feels like the sort of thing that could do quite well as a big bombastic blockbuster on Netflix, perhaps directed or at least executive produced by Zack Snyder. Guns, muscles, explosions, inhuman enemies that can be slaughtered by the thousands with no feeling of guilt or remorse, a clear divide between the good guys and the bad guys, and maybe some superficial hand waving toward a greater message about the folly of hubris, not playing God, or whatever. Sorry, I'm just this is what the article literally is written. Yeah, there's not much to say about what their plans are for the movie or the series. Well, I guess they've had they've campaigned to sign Dave Bautista to play the lead, Marcus Phoenix. What did he pull that off? Could I see him as a Marcus Phoenix? I could see him as Dom, but he could probably do Marcus. Yeah, just like I said with Onimusha, I mean, so far, I'm just hopeful for all these, these news and updates that I'm seeing here. So let's move on to the next. Oh, okay, yeah, all right. So this is like another common everyone's has already raved about the Super Mario Brothers movie starring Chris Pratt as Mario. I forget who the rest of the cast is, but the first trailer premiered, and I saw it, and I mean, visually stunning, like the animation, the character designs, all of that, the special effects. Yeah, like I love it. Like I would easily watch it just for the visuals. Storyline aside, all of that. The big backlash right now.
What is this place?
Come on, Mario!
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come.
Is the lack of Chris Pratt's efforts to mimic the voice that we all grew up on. And that voice actor is Charles Martinet.
It's a me, Mario. Woohoo! Let's go. Okie dokie.
Honestly, when I watched it, it really just made me think of whoever Chris Pratt's character was in Legos. I was like, all right, I feel like I'm just listening to that guy from Legos, but his voice is now, on Mario. All right, hold on. Let me check this out real quick, because I am really curious about the casting. I wonder if Charles Martinet is casted, but what is he casted as? Because you don't hear his voice. You do not hear his voice in the trailer. So let's see. It just says he's a voice. So is he just like an extra voice? Or maybe they're leaving it mysterious. I don't know. If you haven't seen the trailer, check it out. You'll see what I'm saying in regards to Chris Pratt's version of Mario. It doesn't feel like Mario because again, you don't hear the classic voice. But I was gonna propose the idea because I think people are actually trying to come up with another petition to cast Charles Martinet to voice to voice Mario, and that would be such a fu to Chris Pratt, man. But I have seen an argument that what if Charles Martinet doing the Mario, doing full dialogue as Mario, as opposed to hearing his catchphrases and sounds that he makes in the video games. If there would be a big difference there. And I actually don't know. What I do know is that there's chaos going on outside right now. I don't know if the mic is picking up all the sirens that are playing right now, or that were not playing, but the sirens that were going off just now or earlier, because it's chaos right now. I think the purge is happening actually. No. I do wonder, how that would sound like hearing a full dialogue with Charles Martinet as Mario. If it would be if it would come off too cheeky or what. But I'm not fully against it. I'm curious. But we'll see. There also wasn't enough dialogue in the trailer to really, what we heard from Chris Pratt, I think, if I recall correctly, it wasn't a lot. So maybe there are moments, there are scenes in the movie where he really goes into that Mario, tone. Maybe we'll catch, bits and pieces of it throughout the movie. So I was gonna propose maybe why not cast the original voice actor from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
From 1989. Lou Albano. I mean, he might be dead. I don't even know. But I think that would be a cool callback, to bring in as much of the OGs that were involved in past adaptations of the video game character. Yeah, we'll see. I don't want to trash Pratt, too much. I can see why fans would be upset. He doesn't sound like Mario. He doesn't sound like not my Mario. But maybe he pulls off some little things here and there in the movie, whether it's in dialogue or reaction sounds. That's like, oh yeah, that sounded like Mario right there. Maybe we'll get that. Maybe. One could hope. All right. And then lastly, the last thing I want to bring up is A Christmas Story Christmas, the sequel to the classic A Christmas Story film. Which, when did that come out? Oh man, that movie is dear my heart.
In this modern age, too many people have lost sight of the true meaning of Christmas.
Mom! Hush! Shut up, Ralphie!
I have this old family tradition of, how they would play it every year for 12 hours every Christmas. Me and my siblings would watch. Well, we would play that throughout those entire 12 hours. Maybe occasionally we'll switch, if like a Christmas Vacation's on, or some other, maybe Jingle All the Way is on. But man, I'll tell you, a great majority of our Christmas celebration, A Christmas Story was playing in the background. And 1983. And then they had a couple did they have because they did do a sequel back in 2012, which I never saw, and I'm sure it's not great. And then I remember a few years ago they did a Christmas Story live, and I just wasn't feeling that at all, because then they had the music in there, and I'm not big onto musicals. I have very, very few select that I really sincerely enjoy. That was not one of them. When it comes to being a purist, fan, I love A Christmas Story. So many great nuanced moments in that movie that make it so funny.
I think that's just fragile, honey.
They're bringing it back. And they got the original actor who plays Ralphie in it. I'm pretty happy about that. They got, spoiler alert, I guess. I don't know if anyone is as much as a fan as I am, or is as excited as I am for this one. But they got some of the original cast members coming back, and that brings warmth and happiness to my heart, because I really don't have a big Christmas spirit when it's between me and my wife. I actually enjoy Halloween. That's my holiday. And even with Halloween lately, I don't know, maybe I'm just becoming just an old bitter man, but my Halloween spirit hasn't been that strong. But I still do get enthusiastic about it. But I love Halloween. Nicole loves Christmas, but you know, you want if I am gonna be like all jolly, like there's like a certain handful of movies that will get me in the Christmas spirit.
A Christmas Story.
Come on!
The movie that pulls off Santa's beard.
The Christmas Story is one of them, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. I will like my first impression of the trailer. It looks fun. I can see, you know, where it can be, where it can get cheesy. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I'm a forgiving fan, and I think I'm just happy enough. I can be happy enough just knowing that Ralph, you know, the original actor for Ralphie's back, and his was it, his two friends are back in there, like the actors. Um, I'm happy that they're coming back and reprising their roles. So I don't know. I'm excited for all the callbacks and the nods to the original cast and film in that movie. So, you know, if it's bad, it's bad, but I'm still excited. I like what I've seen so far, and yeah, I guess the running theme of this podcast right now is just hopeful. I'm hopeful for all these things that have been announced lately. Oh man, so good. I have one more thing to share before I wrap this up. I got something on the mic here. If you've been catching some of the recent episodes of the podcast, you notice, just judging by the thumbnails, I haven't been featuring guests as of late. I kept saying, you know, I want to shake things up and whatnot. And, you know, there are particular topics that I like to just share my thoughts and opinions on that I may not be able to with any guests, just because these are more of my personal interests. So, you know, I don't know how enjoyable they have been for you guys, but I been enjoying this run of solo podcasts. I usually don't, but I think because I've been doing more of them, I'm finally starting to appreciate it and enjoy recording them more, even though sometimes it's a struggle. But I really actually am starting to enjoy it a little bit more. And I think because now I know that each episode I'm finding, you know, they're a little more topical. So this episode was more about what I'm interested in terms of the entertainment, you know, video games or TVs, films. In this case, it's a lot of films and TV series. But the last one was about the protesters, the climate protesters. And then I did a talk on, or not a talk, but like, you know, I shared some things regarding AI. So I'm kind of just picking and choosing like which episode I want to discuss certain topics. I'll give you a little preview, or rather a heads up, that the next episode I plan on talking about MMA, because I really am a fan of the MMA sport. So I'll be talking a little bit about that. So if you're a combat sport fan, if you just want to hear me, just talk my shit and share some things revolving that type of sport, yeah, be on the lookout. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to add there. I just want to add that I am having fun doing these solo podcasts now, and I hope that's translating to the listeners, the viewers, those of you that are joining me here. And yeah, and I just want to share one last thing, something inspirational, right? This is a new segment that I'm hoping to keep alive on the podcast. I will always share something inspirational, whether it's quotes, people, places, or things. things that inspire me, and I hope that will inspire you as well. In this matter, this is a quote because I was talking about Musashi earlier. This is actually a quote of his from his book, A Book of Five Rings, The Classic Guide to Strategy. And the quote goes, "All men are the same except for their belief in their own selves, regardless of what others may think of them." That really resonates with me because I have this like inner competitiveness, with my art. I mean, hell, with health and fitness, whether it's a fellow gym mate or just myself, if I'm looking in the mirror, right? I just feel like that's such a resonant quote for any receiver, whatever it is that you're pursuing. We all tend to compare ourselves to the next best person. Then if there's someone that's a little bit better than you at what you're both pursuing, you always kind of compare a little bit, right? I mean, that's kind of how I guess I'm naturally interpreting it. Perhaps you may interpret it differently, but I believe that's kind of like what he's saying here. But that being said, there's a lot of truthfulness in there, and I and a lot of inspiration, and I hope that I hope that has a positive effect on you in some way, whether you're inspired or motivated or encouraged to keep moving forward on what you're pursuing there. If you are new here and you enjoyed what you've listened what you've heard or seen so far, please like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. That way you can always keep up with further uploads. And please don't hesitate to leave a comment if you have any, anything you want to share, first impressions, perhaps questions, all that good jazz. Leave it in the comments. I'll be sure to respond. And that's it, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay aware, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace out. I feel good about that one. And that was in one take. Ha!